Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I am your host, Chris Stachiw, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, confidant, and romancer of the dead, Mr. Eric Kniss.
Oh, man. Is it bad that I still am sporting like a full-on erection?
A full-on plastic penis erection?
Oh, yeah, baby.
And we are joined this week by one of the managers of Rainbow Comics here in Lincoln, Mr. Dana Christensen.
Hey, no plastic needed over here, guys. I was good to go as well.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Lord almighty.
Every time I move in my chair, you guys may hear something knocking against my desk. That, too, is my erection. Oh, Jesus Christ.
God.
On this episode of the Kulturecast, we are continuing our controversial movie month with a film that has been banned in over 10 countries and just recently premiered in the UK in 2014 after being released in 1987. It's been banned due to its graphic portrayal of necrophilia, Nekromantik. The film is directed by Jörg Buttgereit and stars Daktari Lorenz as Rob and Beatrice Manowski as Betty. IMDb synopsis for the film is: a street sweeper who cleans up after grisly accidents brings home a full corpse for him and his wife to enjoy sexually, but is dismayed to see that his wife prefers the corpse over him. I know you'd seen this before, but I know Dana hasn't. Dana, since you are our guest, what did you think of the film?
Well, first of all, let me up front by saying that I am a fan of all banned content. So I think it's absurd that it's banned in 10 countries. But that being said, I think this was an extreme film, don't get me wrong, but I do think, it is in the line with a lot of other types of great literature. I love a lot of underground stuff. When I got passed out the banned book list as a kid, I read all of those books immediately. So it's in the line with things like George Bataille or the Marquis de Sade, or even more highbrow, highfalutin stuff like William Faulkner's A Rose for Emily or things like that. So I do think that in that sense, I don't think it's quite so shocking, but the portrayal I thought was pretty well done. It did, I think, also interestingly ask us to kind of reflect on our own sort of phobic response, or our sort of fascination or repulsion with sex and violence and death. So in that sense, I really liked it. I thought if you got past the sort of gut response, there was parts that even got to the point of being funny. So, I was a fan.
What about you, Eric? You'd seen this film, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I saw this movie a long time ago. It's been so long that I didn't even remember really the movie at all. And so when I rewatched it again, it was almost like seeing it for the first time. I was definitely not super grossed out by this movie. In comparison to a lot of other things, especially the stuff that we're watching this month, this movie is very tame in comparison. Sure, the subject matter is extremely taboo and definitely on the fucked up scale. It was hard for me to get past the way that the movie was shot and the acting and the pretty hokey practical effects. My knee-jerk reaction to this movie is it's not a good movie. And I got more morbid humor out of this movie than I got anything else out of it.
I had never seen this before, but I mean, as kind of in the same boat as Dana, I'm a huge fan of banned or controversial content and stuff that is clearly, it exists to upset. I mean, this film existed for a couple reasons. One of them was Jörg Buttgereit literally saying, I cannot stand the way that German films are censored, so fuck them. I'm going to make a film that breaks effectively every rule when it comes to censorship. So going into it, knowing all of that, knowing kind of...
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster. You know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.
The road that it took to get this film made, understanding ahead of time, the issue that Eric is having with it, and it's something that isn't great, is the performances in this film are trash. I mean, they're really bad, but again, the people in this film are Jörg Buttgereit's friends. They're not actors. They're not professional actors. So, it's pretty obvious. It's not surprising in the slightest. But kind of taking some of those things into consideration before I watched it, I think it has some, like Dana said, it's got some interesting things to say about, human sexuality and personal sexuality and how we as human beings approach that and kind of what's taboo when it comes to sexuality and where we draw the line. And I don't know if Jörg Buttgereit was going for that when he came up with this film. Maybe giving him too much credit, but there is a fair amount of humor in this film. I was laughing during the climax of this film, primarily because of how absolutely ridiculous it is, and just how over the top it is.
I kind of like some of that over the top nature of it, a little bit of the campiness in the performances and even the practical effects to some extent. It was like almost a little bit of, like you said, it's just putting his friends in these situations, and these practical effects become some sort of almost like a sex object or a sex toy, as opposed to a more sophisticated effect that would sort of detach it from its nature as an object that is being played with. And so some of that stuff I thought was funny or interesting. And of course the climax, I mean, if you weren't laughing during that, I mean, I think there's just something wrong. You know, I think there's in French, they call an orgasm la petite mort, the little death. And I think the climax is certainly the full-blown mort. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he definitely goes all the way there. And so, you know, stuff like that I thought was just the over-the-top nature of it, the campiness of it, kind of hit that buzzer for me a little bit. I like that part of it a little bit.
I think, though, and maybe, Eric, this is probably one of the other issues you have with this film, is it's got a runtime of 75 minutes. It drags. And
there's so hard.
Yeah. There's realistically, though, there's like maybe 10 minutes of actual plot, not even, in this film. Maybe,
yeah.
Right. It feels very much detached from its plot and what you would expect from like a schlock exploitation film. It's more, it's like it verges on, and in some points it is, an art house film. It's very like abstract in points. There's a lot of just like one of the things about art house films that kind of, they're always kind of, I don't know, classified as, is sometimes they're aimless. There's just, things are just kind of happening, and we're gonna read into this, and there's a deeper meaning. But to a lot of viewers, it's aimless. And in this film, there's parts of this film that feel aimless, that they're just, things are just kind of happening. He's cooking a steak, he's doing an autopsy on a body, and the film just, it's trying to be art. Maybe it is trying to be art. Maybe it's just, the subject matter is so kind of intense that it kind of lends itself to being classified as art. But, the plot of this film is Rob likes fucking corpses, so does his wife. His wife leaves him for a corpse. That's the plot of the film. I summarized essentially it in like two lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to it. There is a lot of stuff is drawn out, but the stuff with like cooking of the steak next to them having fondled this dead corpse, I thought that stuff was great. Or the skinning of the rabbit, little stuff like that that's thrown in there that are just kind of to make you have little associations that are sort of gross out moments, that connect the connection of the corpse to food, something that, we really want to eat, this big steak, but at the same time, having just seen what it, for most people, is a gross out scene. I mean, he sucks the corpse's eyeball out of its head. So, I mean, it's that, I think they're playing on some of those juxtapositions. But yeah, I mean, as with all things when it comes to the classification, is what were they attempting to do art, weren't they? It's just, I mean, hey, that's maybe a question for somebody that's smarter than me. But at the end of the day, if the artist names it as such, then it counts as art. And this seemed to at least have some ideas that guided it a little bit.
I just think, though, for a lot of people, and obviously, this is one of those films that, again, it's kind of like a film we talked about last week, a Serbian film, where it's kind of spoken about in hushed tones because it is so notorious. The film is still banned as of 2017. Film came out 30 years ago. The film is still banned in Iceland, Norway, Malaysia, Singapore, and parts of Canada. And like I said in the intro, it was just recently allowed to be, watched, in quotations, in the UK in 2014. I don't know if it really deserved that, because it's upsetting, it's disturbing, but like in this day and age, this film is still kind of like, I don't know, not a whole lot compared to some of the more like recent films.
This movie reminded me a lot of Cannibal Holocaust. I think Cannibal Holocaust is way more effective in its like gross outs sort of, like those like brutal cannibalistic sequences and stuff are like way more gnarly in that movie in comparison to like maybe 10 minutes of total like weird necrophilia stuff that happens in this movie. Like the majority of this movie has almost nothing to do with like the actual gross out necrophilia stuff. It's like just weird dream sequences. There's also a huge chunk of this movie that the guy just goes to see a movie, which blew me away, that I was like sitting watching a movie where the main character just goes to see a movie. And like now I'm watching this other movie. And it's just like I can sort of see the correlation with the violence that's in the movie, and in the movie theater it's a bunch of other couples or whatever that are getting all turned on by it and everything like that, and then he storms out or whatever because that's
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
I mean, he's alone now or whatever, and doesn't have anybody to appreciate the shit with him. For how infamous this movie seems to be, I feel like it's almost unwarranted. Like this movie is not as bad as I think a lot of people think that it is. You hear necrophilia or whatever, and it sounds bad, but then you watch the movie and you're like, I've seen worse. I've seen way worse.
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think the only explanation is that those several countries that still have it banned have really negative opinions towards safe sex. There is some really good informative pieces in here about how to engage in safe sex and things like that. So no, I mean, obviously joking aside, I do think that it's true that this doesn't have the sort of full-on gross out factor that a lot of those other types of movies have. Maybe that's part of what I liked about it a little bit, is that there was something else going on too, or I don't know, maybe those scenes were boring, but I do think that movie theater scene that you brought up too was a cool one for me, because there are those times in films where you watch somebody else watching a film, and this sort of puts you in that question you were asking about the position of the viewer, and so I do think he's pretty obviously there trying to say something about the way we watch horror movies. Are we so much? Does the Texas Chainsaw Massacre trivialize cannibalism and murder any more than this movie trivializes necrophilia? That sort of question. And I don't know why necrophilia is the, cross he decided to bear, but I think it's at least interesting and somewhat shocking, despite the fact that I do agree. Some of these other movies certainly have better effects or, a way higher gross out or shock value than this one does.
Yeah. And the thing for me that is really hard for me to get by, watching this movie is just, I can understand what most everything in the movie is doing there, or is supposed to be doing there, or why, we're seeing XYZ, and sort of the statements that are trying to be made about safe sex and then also societal norms and things like that. And I mean, even at the time in the 80s when this movie came out was when AIDS, was a fucking big, crazy new thing that everybody was super afraid of. So you have all of these sort of sexually charged issues that are all sort of flying around at the same time, during this time. And I can't imagine that the director is not touching on all of these themes by accident. I mean, he's definitely doing it on purpose. Otherwise, the movie would just be one long hour sequence of two people fucking a corpse. Because if you really wanted to freak people out, that's what it would be. Watching this movie, I was like, okay, dude, I get what you're trying to say, but do it better.
Well, that's the thing about a lot of films like this one, or even a film like a Serbian film last week. These films are known for their, like, really over-the-top moments, but then everyone kind of neglects that and overlooks that other part of the film that is the kind of the stuff that's trying to make a statement, because ultimately Nekromantik is very similar to a Serbian film in that it's trying to use this kind of over-the-top imagery and over-the-top subject matter to say something. It unfortunately, kind of like a Serbian film, it gets a little lost.
I think it gets lost for different reasons.
Yeah, in this film, it gets lost for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, a Serbian film, the message gets lost because you cannot overlook the horrific shit that's happening on screen. And in this movie, it gets lost because you're just going, what? Why are we doing this now? What the fuck is happening? Why?
Well,
what?
Also in a Serbian film, you have a subject matter that we are not inherently in tune with. In a Serbian film, you had subject matter about how the Serbian people are being oppressed by their government and, you know, that systematic oppression. In this film, like Dana was talking about in the intro, this is about, like, human sexuality and kind of turning a mirror on ourselves and kind of what we consider to be sexuality and how we approach our own sexuality and what is the line for us as human beings, which I think is a little bit more interesting than a Serbian film and a little bit more relatable. I feel like the necrophilia aspect of this film, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly more relatable. I mean, especially if you look at the end of this film where you see the shovel dig into the ground and she's going to now exhume his corpse and get back to it. I mean, this is really a love story about a couple learning how to love each other, you know? And so in some sense, you know, there is, despite the fact that there's all this other stuff on top of it, there is this sort of relatable aspect to it that, I don't know, maybe makes it more palatable or less shocking or whatever it happens to be. But ultimately, I do think there's some relatability to it. And I love the ending. I thought it was a nice little humorous jab at the end of, you know, now he's finally in such a state that she is willing to take him back.
She wants a man that will be there for her without, I don't know, having to be there, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, she doesn't want to deal with, like, an unreliable schmuck. She just wants, you know, a piece of meat to, you know, fuck her when she's into it. So corpse, there you go. It's the perfect way.
Piece of rotting meat.
And I mean, it always helps when you just saw off the end of a pipe and,
oh my God,
you know, just throw a rubber on it. You don't want to
gotta improvise, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to get like rust all up in there. That's the worst.
Well, let's take a break and kind of reconvene our thoughts during the commercial break. And we get back, we'll talk about that scene and kind of, I don't know, the more ridiculous aspects of it. Movies have become a portal to a vast and growing pop culture universe, but you don't need to go over the rainbow to get your pop culture fix. Just head to Rainbow Comics, Cards, and Collectibles. They are your one-stop shop for comics, toys, posters, games, and more. Not a pop culture nerd? No problem. They have something for everyone, including a wide array of sports cards, collectible card games, even memorabilia. Stop by one of their 2 locations today. The flagship location at 3310 South Minnesota Avenue, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or their newest location at 1501 Pine Lake Road, Suite 17, Lincoln, Nebraska. Most importantly, don't forget to add them on Facebook for pop culture news, weekly live videos, and special events.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
Week after week, I'm mesmerized by the focus given great films and questionable films alike. But every episode is a learning and entertaining experience.
This is hands down the best movie podcast. They cover so many different genres across so many years, from obscure movies to blockbusters.
If there's only one podcast about movies and cinema that you listen to, make it this one.
The Projection Booth Podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
All right, and we are back, and we are talking about Nekromantik. On the other side of the break, we were talking about, I would say, the scene that this film is known for.
Yeah, it's the scene that is the scene.
Yeah, the menage a corpse, where Rob and his wife have sex with a rotten corpse. Not just a corpse, a rotten corpse. And since their rotten corpse, his penis is rotten, they cut off a piece of steel pipe and use it as a penis.
It's pretty great.
Again, this is like the second week now where I've said stuff on a Kulturecast that I never thought I would say. Rusting steel pipe penis.
There's some historical accuracy to this, at least with a gender opposite situation where a famous murder where a guy had killed his wife, but later wanted to reconvene with relations with her, dug her up, and created an improvised vagina when they had found her. So that's, this is apparently commonplace in certain parts of the world.
It's not surprising, but for me, this was definitely like the most upsetting scene in the film, right? I'm assuming it's ridiculous and it's laughable and it's awful, but at the same time, like, it is really disgusting.
It's gross. It's for sure gross.
Yeah, I don't think you can help but have that reaction to some extent. I mean, that's obviously the intent, and there's a whole bunch of good reasons why people have such a reaction when confronted with such a thing. I mean,
yeah.
It's a pretty good fight or flight response there. A survival technique. Stay away from the corpses. They're disease bearing. You don't want to do all the sundry things they were doing with said corpse. So.
There is a point in that scene where Rob sucks the eyeball out of the corpse and spits it back in.
Oh, that's what really got my fucking dick hard.
Yeah.
So erect.
Oh God. I was like watching it and I was going like, okay, this is pretty gross, but like, all right, whatever. And then the eyeball part happened. I was like, this is, I was like, oh no, that's not cool.
It's the scene in the film that if you told someone about this film, if they could get past this scene, the rest of the film is peanuts.
Honestly, I thought that, at least for me, the like scene of the rabbit getting killed and then skinned was more messed up to me than this sequence, because I know the corpse is fake, but that was a real rabbit.
Yeah, but I felt like that was done rather tastefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's done in a very like matter-of-fact sort of like, you're not torturing the animal, you're not doing it to be sadistic. It seemed like a very like, they just went to a farmer or somebody. What do you call a person who raises rabbits?
I think a farmer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Farmer.
They just went to a guy who like just has rabbits, and he's like, oh yeah, we use their pelts for whatever, and we eat them and shit. Like, you want to see how we do that shit? He's like, yeah, all right, cool. Can I film it?
And then intercut it while a dude's jerking off?
Yeah, like that was weird for me, because I was like, why is this rabbit like getting skinned and this guy's like just getting really off on it like that? I don't know. For me, that was like somehow more messed up than the corpse stuff.
Well, that's the reason you didn't like Cannibal Holocaust, right?
Well, because it killed a real animal or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't want PETA to get all pissed off at me, but like, come on, you killed one fucking rabbit. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. You killed a monkey in Cannibal Holocaust. Like, okay.
And a turtle.
And a turtle. Oh God, that's where I draw the line, is turtle death. No, man, like that's, violence against animals is, horrible and bad and, whatever. I would never condone it in any real life situation. And it's like pretty fucked up that they do it for real in like these handful of infamous, movies or whatever that exist. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess I don't really have like a concrete reason why that scene, that intercutting of the rabbit like getting killed and then like getting skinned afterwards like bothered me more than the necrophilia. I don't know why.
I think there is like a broader I think there's a broader sort of ethical question brought up by that, right? Like the killing of the rabbit is something that happens all the time. People do this for food, but in our culture today, we're divorced from the slaughterhouse. We don't ever see that stuff. It's all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So you have somebody who's sitting at their dinner table chugging down a steak, and then they go watch Cannibal Holocaust and get upset because another animal got killed. And it's like, where is your complicity in the whole process? Look, I'm not good enough to be a vegetarian because, I just made the decision a long time ago that pork tasted good for a reason, so I have to partake in that. But, there is something about the fact that our culture divorces itself from certain types of violence that we don't want to see. And I think part of what this film is trying to say is, or what it's trying to do is throw a few of those things up in our face and say, these are things that perhaps go on. And certainly with this.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are westerns. We'll mostly focus on western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Skinning of rabbits, this is something that goes on every day. Why is it that it upsets you when it doesn't upset you when you have rabbit stew for dinner, you know?
I agree, actually. I agree 100%. It really is about kind of, again, it's a morality question, right? Like, why should this be any more upsetting than, you know, a fake dude killing himself while masturbating, or two people having sex with a fake corpse, right? Because like this, like you said, Dana, this happens every day. This is commonplace. And it's being presented in a way that's not really offensive. It's being presented rather straightforward.
Yeah. I don't know. I maybe not like, maybe it's the context of, you know, what's going on that like bothered me about it, but like not necessarily the actual act of what was happening, but just that interlaced with everything else that was going on. I don't know.
I think that says something about you as a person, that two people fucking a corpse isn't that big of a deal. A rabbit being skinned is really what pushes you over the edge.
And I don't even like rabbits. I fucking hate rabbits. They're annoying and shitty.
I wasn't trying to suggest that the killing of the rabbit wasn't a disturbing scene, just that I think that was the point it's trying to make. The killing of the rabbit certainly had an effect on me too. But in the end, you know, with the happy ending, the rabbit gets put back together again, right? It's the Humpty Dumpty rabbit.
Yeah, I guess.
See the old process in reverse at the end there, yeah.
Yeah, one of the stranger parts of this film, the fact that the rabbit comes full circle, because of course it does.
Yeah, it gets pretty heavy at the end. He's like making crucifixes, and you know, there's like a lot of it goes in pretty hard on some imagery, and you know, falls on his face a few times, but at least it's reaching out there for a few things, you know?
Yeah, the end does definitely go in this really, really insane direction. Like, they just really go for it. And I don't know, unsuccessfully in a lot of ways, but...
Well, that's the thing about a film like this and a film like a Serbian film is at some point you can't keep going, well, there's more to this. There's more to this. There's more going on. You have to just you have to be really picky with the way you do stuff. And for me, it does kind of verge on, okay, guys, like you said, Dana, it kind of falls on its face because it tries to do too much. And that's yeah, like you said, at the end, it's like bringing in religion. And it's just like, come on, can we kind of settle down? Can we kind of narrow down the focus? Because I'm all for making a statement. I'm all for making some sort of brand morality statement or statement about human sexuality. Like a film that has those kind of themes, that's exciting. That's interesting. But it's in this film, it gets kind of muddied because it tries to do too much at the end. He is a corpse now, and then he's with a prostitute, and they're kicking around a decomposing head. It's like, what are you trying to achieve?
That was super weird. Like, just like, oh, let's play catch with the fucking corpse's head or whatever. I was just like, what is happening? What is going on? I don't understand. This movie was really confusing and not in a cool way. In like a, what? kind of way.
I think it just tried to do too much in regards to what it was trying to say as a film.
I think we've all three commented at this point that this film could stand a little bit of focus. It just needs to be more having sex with the dead corpse and less of the other stuff, you know?
Right.
And I think that does say, you know, a lot about, probably more about us than the film.
With a film whose poster is a woman topless with a corpse practically suckling at her breasts, yes, I would assume that there would be more corpse fucking in a film.
Yeah. I was definitely waiting for more of that. Just, you know, Jergens at the ready.
Right, you gotta wait for the sequel, you know?
Yeah,
now I gotta watch Nekromantik 2, dude.
Yeah.
The remanticking.
Nekromantik 2 actually picks up right where this one ends. So if you want to go watch Nekromantik 2, which, I mean, go for it, I guess. But I do think, you know, we touched on this a little bit, that this film is, like, you could, again, this is kind of the direction of the film and its kind of lack of focus. It could be seen as like an allegory for like the AIDS epidemic in the late 80s. You could also make the statement like Dana did about safe sex. Always have safe sex, even if it's with a corpse. Even if it's with a corpse's steel pipe dick.
I mean, she did throw a condom on it, so good on her,
Not all norms were being broken there.
Right.
Nope.
But also you could make the argument about how this film is ultimately about male impotence.
Yeah.
Because the character of Rob, he can't get it up unless the person is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As evidenced by the, hooker who gets killed and then subsequently boned.
Yeah. As soon as she's dead, he has sex with her.
He's like, oh, now I'm into it. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah. And then he murders a guy with a shovel.
Yeah, that was
brutally
funny. That was really funny. That sequence,
That's a sharp
it's just
right
like
there.
The half head or whatever, and the tongue's like lolling out. I was laughing. It was
making
great.
That gargling noise.
Yeah.
And shaking.
And then it just like cuts to his feet falling over or whatever. I was like, what? Why do we care if there's blood on his shoes? This is stupid.
For the budget that this film had,
which is seemingly nothing.
Yeah, it did a lot with its budget.
Yeah. I mean, considering that it's all practical effects and it, is 1987 with zero budget or whatever, like, they made some shit work.
Yeah, I mean, somebody really loved making those corpses,
And the corpse, the corpse doesn't look terrible. It looks a little hokey, but,
yeah.
You're not really focusing on what the corpse looks like in that scene anyways.
No.
You're focusing on the fact that a woman and a man are having sex with it. So that kind of works to their advantage.
What do you think is worse, that the woman is having sex with it or the man is having sex with it?
I don't think it's a whole lot of value difference. You don't get to see.
I like that. It's not a whole lot of value difference.
I mean, you don't get to see all of the acts, but I mean, I guess you can. I mean, so you don't know what happens in terms of penetration and things like that. I don't know. The whole ugly calculus may end up in the details, but at the end of the day, that's a pretty hard taboo line that you're crossing there. So I think you're firmly into that territory.
I think just some of the ideas in this film, like you said, I mean, does it really matter if the man fucking the corpse is worse or the woman fucking the corpse? At the end of the day, even Rob's character, he clearly misses the corpse more than he misses the woman. I think that's like one of the more kind of obvious things that the film goes for. It's like he ultimately cares more about the corpse than he does his actual wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and vice versa, right?
Yeah. She leaves with the corpse.
I mean, she's actually reading like dime store romance novels, one-on-one, laying with the couch, chilling on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, that actually happened in the movie. So
yeah, I
mean, she had a hardcore, steamy love affair with the corpse, and yeah, I mean, I think she leaves with it. So
yeah, I love the note that she wrote, like, and I took our friend with me too, and he's just like super distraught, not all about it.
Well, that's quite a stain on the wall there too, and that scene, my goodness.
Those like bowls underneath the corpse that were like catching all the fluids and everything. That was probably the grossest thing ever when they kept cutting to those bowls. I was like, no.
While they were cooking the meat. Last thing we should talk about before we wrap this up, the ending, because we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but we haven't really spilled the beans on what it really is. Rob's character kills a hooker, kills a random guy in a graveyard.
Yeah, he's probably, like the Undertaker or something.
Yeah, and then he goes home, using a knife, kills himself while masturbating. Or actually, he jizzes hands-free.
Yeah, the ecstasy of death there, yeah.
But he jizzes hands-free while stabbing himself in the stomach, causing semen and blood to go everywhere, and then at some point causing semen to stop shooting out of his penis and blood instead.
Yeah, that's metal right there.
Blood penis. Yeah, it's pretty metal at the end. It's a pretty gnarly ending to the film.
Yeah, Lars von Trier definitely stole that scene from Antichrist from this movie.
Yeah.
That scene is it's comical. It's like I assume that it's meant to be shocking, But it's comical. It's funny. I mean, if you're not laughing during that scene, I don't know what to say, really.
Yeah. It's just weird because it comes right after the scene with him doing the hammering of the crucifix thing, and then he's, of course, killing himself, and so there's all these themes about sacrifice. But yeah, it's just hysterical, man. It's a giant blood jizz fountain. I mean, it can't be anything except for laughable at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And I think it's a fitting way to end the film.
Oh, yeah.
You know, after we've seen everything, after we've seen a man and a woman fuck a corpse, after we've seen a man, we didn't even talk about the cat scene.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, he's being so nice to the cat. This cat's great. Oh, no, he's feeding the cat like an organ from a jar. That's not cool.
And then he starts slamming the cat against the wall in a bag and then bathes in its, like, entrails.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
Little proxy death there, killing his wife, right?
Yeah.
In the form of a cat. Yeah.
It's such a crazy movie, and the ending, I think, really works. Because I don't see any other way for the character's story to end, right?
No, I think that is final and climactic. Pun intended.
So where would you, Dana, rank this film in kind of the pantheon of other controversial films that you've seen?
I don't know. I don't think it's in the top 5 or anything. Like I said, I think there's funny parts. There's that layer of fantasy. You know, this isn't real things happening to real people, and you see a lot of these movies where, you know, you capture actual people dying. Some of these like snuff type movies or other stuff like that you can see all on the internet and places like that. And it's just like, to me, this is mild by those standards, but it definitely is something that belongs, I think, on a category. If you're going to discuss taboo movies, I think it has to be in the discussion. So I think it's a part of the discussion, but it definitely apart from the top. It's not on the all protein.
Well, Eric, where does this rank for you?
Not high. I didn't really find it to be all that. It didn't irk me as bad as a lot of other movies of the same like type that I've seen. I think I just couldn't get over like how not good this movie was. And like then everything else that happened just like didn't really matter to me because I was like, oh, this movie sucks. So like I don't really care. I mean,
you really didn't like this film.
I really didn't like it. I don't know. It just didn't jive with me at all. Like I could see that there was a message saying something, but I don't know. I think like the whole time I was watching this movie, like nothing ever happened in this movie to like make me care about any of the characters or anything that was happening. So I don't know. I'd say it's definitely an important watch in like a history of messed up cinema type of way, just because it's, you know, it was banned and it is still banned in a lot of places. And it does have something to say. You know, this movie is not without any sort of merit at all. So, you know, me liking or disliking the movie is sort of irrelevant because, you know, that's just personal preference. It's like we talked about last week, you know, sort of like the threshold of art and, you know, sort of like what it means to like be like an actual artistic piece of film and to like matter and to have something to say and not just be, you know, I don't know, not to just exist for no reason. And so I'd say that from an artistic standpoint, for sure, this movie, you know, deserves a watch. It's, you know, it definitely has earned its place in, you know, sort of the pantheon of, you know, messed up films and, you know, sort of like taboo subject matter. So, you know, it's if I was teaching a class on, you know, messed up, you know, horror movies or something, and this would definitely be in that class for sure. So
Dana, any thoughts on the most controversial film you've ever seen?
Most controversial film I've ever seen. I don't know. I've seen like The Faces of Death and the Cannibal Holocaust and that stuff. I don't know. For me, the really like the torture horror stuff, I like it and I find it interesting. But I think like films that really get to me are more surreal in nature. So like if you're asking me like stuff movies that really disturbed me, stuff like Eraserhead, or movies like Blue Velvet, but those aren't really of this type of nature in terms of banned content. So I also thought The Antichrist was a very good film of this type of nature. So those are a few that I like.
What score out of 5 would you give this film? Because Eric is clearly of the idea that this is, what would you say, Eric? Like a 2?
I retract my statement. I give this movie a 1.5. Jeez. Yeah, I really didn't like it, which is rare for me. I can usually find things about these movies that are likable, and I just didn't enjoy myself watching this movie.
So what about you, Dana?
I would give this movie a 3. I thought that at least if you're into this genre, that this is something that you should be watching. I think it's probably better than average for this genre. I thought there were some cool things to think about, but I ultimately thought it was unsuccessful. So I'd be unwilling to give it anything higher than like a 60%.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of right in line with you. 3 is probably as good as it gets. It's one of those things where the topics that it's going after, it touches on them, but it falls short of really driving it home with a punch. It just kind of falls short for me. So I would say a 3. But I think it is a film that you should watch. I mean, this whole idea that, oh my God, this film is so upsetting, you should never watch it. Like, come on, people.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Here. It's a movie. It's not real, guys. And even the films that are real, like Faces of Death, most of the stuff in Faces of Death is fake.
Yeah.
Like most of the stuff in Faces of Death is literally just fucking fake. It was just done, and then they interspersed it with some real stuff. But for the most part, Faces of Death, a lot of that film is fake. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, people need to kind of, I don't know, get over it a little bit. It's art. It's film. Go watch it. Come to your own opinion. If you watch it and still think that it's garbage, then, okay. But at least we can have a conversation about why it's garbage.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, you don't have to like it, but learn to appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly appreciate this. I would encourage everyone who likes these type of movies to watch it. And I also think that it's good in principle as a person who's a thinking person, that when things like this are banned, that it's a good idea to go and check out and see what they're all about, There's more than likely something there to that. So,
yeah. And plus, what one person finds upsetting, another person may not even be fazed by.
One other movie that I would recommend to people in this category, too, that I didn't mention when we talked about my favorite of this type of genre, is a movie by the name of Begotten, if you guys haven't seen that. It's a really gritty, sort of short horror movie, and it's got some sort of wild imagery in there, some real surrealism and stuff like that. So those type of films, and like I said, I love movies like Eraserhead and stuff like that. So those are the type of things I would recommend you check out if you like this.
I think somebody's doing Begotten on the site, right?
Yeah, someone is talking about Begotten. I've never seen it, but I really love Shadow of the Vampire, and I know that was the guy who directed Shadow of the Vampire's first film. So
it's a crazy movie, man. It's filmed in a really interesting way, and it's got some really heavy content, and then just a lot of stuff that you can't really explain it, but it is pretty upsetting. So
yeah.
Well, we're gonna take another break and play a preview for this Thursday show.
This is our new orphanage. It's as big as a castle.
Feel free to use the house as you see fit. Mrs. Mullins and I stay down here. Your rooms are upstairs. Locked, and it stays that way.
Hello? You're the Mullins daughter, aren't you?
You help me?
What do you need?
Janice says she's seen your daughter.
My daughter has been dead for a very long time.
She was taken from us at an early age. We prayed to see our beloved girl again. The contact started small, but then it It wanted permission to move into a doll so that it could be with us forever. We said yes.
Your sister is coming after me.
Who?
An evil presence. It's because I'm the weakest.
It's the doll. The devil. Annabelle.
That's right. Later this week, we're going to be talking about Annabelle Creation.
Oh!
The fourth film in the James Wan Conjuring verse, the Conjure verse, the Wanna-verse, whatever you want to call it.
I'm just waiting for Insidious to cross over into the Conjureverse, and then we're just going to have the Insidious Conjuring, and then that's going to be it. And then we're really going to ruin two franchises at once.
And we also have an interview with the director of the film, David F. Sandberg. That name may sound familiar to you if you keep up with comic book movie news, because 2 weeks ago, he was announced as the director of the upcoming DC Extended Universe Shazam film. So we talk a little bit
With
about
Shaq?
that in our interview. Oh my God.
What?
You fucking monster.
Shazam with Shaq.
Yeah.
They're remaking it?
No, God. Anyways, you fucking troll.
What? These are legitimate questions I have.
I have to sit this out. As someone who works at a comic book store, you're making me angry. Speaking of Rainbow Comics, what is good over at Rainbow Comics right now, Mr. Christensen? How are things over at the Rainbow Comics?
You know, things are really good. Just for people who don't know, I know these guys have been running an ad for us, but Rainbow Comics is at 1501 Pine Lake Road, Suite 17 in Lincoln, Nebraska, so that's where you can see what we're doing. I do have a couple cool things that are related to Annabelle Creation. I got a bunch of new posters in for all kinds of movies, but I have especially some cool ones, some cool vinyl bus shelter posters for Annabelle Creation, 4x6 posters. They're really nice. They're huge. They're awesome. And then we also have a bunch of standard movie size posters. If you're a horror fan, some of the stuff that we talked about today, we have a great collection of stuff down there. And then one of my favorite things that we do at the store is we do Local Artist Day, and we just have been in the process of setting up our next Local Artist Day, which is going to be September 9th. We're going to have 2 brand new artists in the store, so make sure and check out our Facebook. We are always doing something in the store, whether it's gaming related or having a comic book review show that you can check out also on our Facebook page, or talking about whatever is going to be the next movie coming out in the superhero universe. It's all going on on our Facebook page, so stop there, or more importantly, stop down to the store and say hello to myself and Zach, who is also my coworker there.
And I can attest to the fact that they're some cool dudes, and I like the store a lot. It's my favorite comic book store in Lincoln. So
hey now,
It may be the only comic book store in Lincoln as well. So there you go.
Well, we appreciate it, guys, and we certainly are trying to do our best to make it a place that everybody wants to come check out. So please do.
Yeah.
And what about you, Eric? What's new with our good friends over at Wavoka Inc.?
We got that tour coming up in September, so if you're on the West Coast, come and see us and get weird. I'm going to be in Vegas next weekend. So if you're for some reason going to be in Vegas, let's party. You can actually party with the whole band because we're all going to be there, and it's going to be debaucherous. It's going to be stupid. If you want to see what happens or hear about it secondhand, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Tycho Magnetics. That's it. That's stuff. Those are things.
Well, and you can follow me at Culture Stash over on Twitter, and you can follow the website at Culture Shocked on Twitter. Please head on over to cultureshock.com to find out more information about today's episode, including links to Wavoka, the cool dudes who allow us to use their hard-ass, fucking grungy, ear-shattering music for the intro song of the podcast. That song is Lament off of their first album, Sorrows. You can also check out links to the comic book store that Mr. Christensen works for, Rainbow Comics. There's a link in that to them as well. You'll also find links over to iTunes where you can rate and review the show, and to Patreon where you can kick a couple dollars our way so we can keep the lights on. Donors get access to unreleased episodes, DVDs, and a chance to guest co-host a Kulturecast. Want to thank you, Dana, for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk about corpse fucking with us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was truly my pleasure. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I would love to come back on again.
Oh man, two-step, posted with the crew, yeah. You know how we do, I'm just two-step, drink in my right hand, phone in my other hand, getting to the money. Oh man, two-step, posted with the crew, yeah. You know how we do.
Hey, two-stepping, know what I'm saying? 1, 2, 1, 2, Benjamin, aka the Black T, you know what I'm saying? Catch me with my crew every day. Two-step. Oh, my phone in my other hand, like, hello? Oh, get into the money, man. Yeah.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output, and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24-related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.